Hello friends, and welcome back to the Mothership. I have a question for you. Do you like barbecue? Yes, obviously, right? Got another question for you. Do you like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches? If you answered yes to that one, then you're going to love the fact that today we are smoking up our very own PB&J spare ribs. Let's get started. Alright, here is a rack of ribs. First thing that we want to do is give it a little trim. So looking at these, I can tell that I want to take the little flap off the back so I can get the membrane off. Now at the top of these ribs is a section of bone with some cartilage in between them. So I'm just going to cut this off. All of this excess right here. You can save all this as good meat. I just don't want it on my ribs. And then I usually pull off the ribs on the end because they kind of don't cook as well as the rest. So this is looking like a nice slab to me. A little bit of fat here I might take off, just a little bit. And maybe a little bit on the bottom here as well. Now I know this is a heavy trim, guys, but trust me, all this meat's going to get saved. I end up freezing a lot of stuff and using it for different purposes, so it's going to get used for me. You are certainly able to just cook it. Just remember, you're going to have a bunch of little bones you got to eat around in there that are kind of a pain in the butt. Now the only thing I want to do on these ribs is get the membrane off, and to do so I usually just stick a butter knife kind of underneath it like that. Sometimes it's easier than others, but I'm just going to get a finger up underneath there and just kind of pull everything off. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So now all I want to do is get my salt on here, throw it on top, let it absorb, and then we'll come back and put the rest of our rub on. You know my ideas with salt, guys. I always do about a half a teaspoon per pound. Since these are about half bone, you can probably cut that in half. Get it nice and coated down. Don't even bother with the membrane side because that probably will not accept any of our salt. But I think that's a decent amount of kosher salt. Let's get into the fridge and wait it out for it to absorb. Come back and throw some salt and pepper on here. Just a short while later and our salt has all been absorbed. This is the point where you could put a binder on if you want. This has got enough moisture on the exterior. I didn't leave it in the fridge too long, where I don't think I'm going to need to apply a binder. So all I'm going to do here is just put a light coat of coarse black pepper. Not too crazy. I'm not going brisket level, but just a bit. And then just some garlic powder. Now most of the flavor from this is going to come from our sauce at the end, so we don't need to go too crazy. We'll get all our sweetness from there, but I just want to get a little bit on here to build some nice bark. I'm going to get the sides as well, and then just for a little bit of color, I'm going to just get a little bit of paprika on here. Now at this point, if you wanted to add MSG or anything like that, this is the time to do it. Since we're going very sweet, I'm not going to do that. Maybe just a little bit of pepper towards this end, but I think this looks good. So this is going to go directly onto my smoker. I have it up at 225 degrees. I'm just going to let it sit there for a couple hours, not open, not even look at it. I want just as much smoke to develop on the exterior as I can, and then we'll assess in a couple hours to determine if we need to start spritzing. Let's get this on. We have been on for about 2.5 hours, and everything is starting to look a little dry. Everything's not moving, so whatever bark we have created has set. So I'm just going to spray it down. I'm using the standard that I use on this channel for ribs, and that is just hard apple cider. And I'm going to just keep doing what I just did every probably about half an hour to an hour, just as when it starts to look dry. Just keep doing that until we get to the point where we actually want to start putting on our baste. So let's just keep doing that and keep monitoring it. While our ribs are chugging along, it is time to get our baste together. So I'm going to start with some apple cider. You can use a fruited beer here or fruit juice. I wouldn't do anything sour, but you know, lambic, something like that would be good. I'm just going with the hard apple cider. And then add in some jelly. I'm doing strawberry. Grape will work just fine, but I'm more of a strawberry fan, so that's what I'm going to go with. And then some creamy peanut butter. Don't want to use the chunky stuff here. We want to use the creamy. Gross. And I'm also going to add in some honey. And then last but not least, I'm going to put a little bit of sriracha in. This is not necessary, but I think it'll give it a nice little kick. And then now what I'm going to do is get this onto the stovetop, get everything nice mixed together. If you decide it needs a little more liquidity to it, add some more of that cider or beer. If it's a little bit too liquidy, you can add some more peanut butter. That's probably what I would use. That would thicken it up a little bit. but I'm going to get it mixed together and see how it tastes. Do you need more salt based on your peanut butter not being super salty or sugary? You can add salt or sugar here. This is what we're going to start with. This has worked for me just using just regular Jiffy and regular, crappy jelly. But if you're using something different, you might need to add a little more sugar or a little bit more salt. And straight off the stove, here we go. I didn't bring it to a boil. All I wanted is everything to mix together. You can see it's kind of liquidy. It will firm up a little bit when it cools off, but we're going to use this to baste once our ribs get to that kind of 40-degree angle. And I'll show you what I'm talking about right here. So to take a peek at our ribs, the point where I begin to sauce them is always just about this part. You see how we're starting to go down about 45 degrees, everything is moving around. This right here, this is about time to be sauced. Temperature-wise, we're looking somewhere around 191, 192, and everything's starting to bend. This is the point where we get the sauce on. So I'm just going to begin basting everything down with our sauce. And then we're cooking them until everything is bending almost 90 degrees and about to fall apart. That's when I pull mine. I still want a little bit of hold together, but I don't want anything to be completely fall apart, and I obviously don't want them to be too firm. So that's good for a first baste. It's cold out here and I'm freezing to death. So we're gonna close this and let the temperature get back up and come back in a couple minutes, maybe 15 or so minutes, and do it again. We are now officially passing the flapper test, I like to call it. This is done. These are gonna fall apart if I keep doing that. Probing between them, everything is nice and smooth, which means these are gonna come off. Wrap them in tin foil, get ready to eat them. Now, after letting these spare ribs rest for a little bit, they are absolutely ready to be eaten, and they look super good, and they smell even better. So let's cut one of them off. I'm gonna show you guys what we're looking at here. As you can see, we got a really nice smoke ring on there. You can see the sauce is still nice and wet. The first layer of our sauce got a chance to harden up on there, and it's gonna be really, really good, and I am super excited. So first things first, guys, let's give it the old-fashioned chomp. You know, guys, if you're trying to change up your barbecue game and add some different flavors, this is a great one to give a try. The peanut butter adds a nice different flavor we usually don't get in barbecue. There's some sweetness in there from the jelly. I did strawberry jelly, grape would work fine, or really any sort of juice would work really well. But it really is such a different flavor that it's absolutely worth giving a try. And all the ingredients I'm sure you already have. Peanut butter and jelly, it's basically all we need, and a little bit of honey. We are absolutely gonna enjoy these tonight, guys. You can use this sauce on wings, you can use it on a burger, you can use it on all kinds of different stuff, and I plan to do that in the future. But this is a great one to start with, guys. If you're interested in doing a different kind of flavor on your ribs, maybe do half of a slab with this, maybe do a full slab, see what you guys think. If you do end up following this recipe, guys, please let me know down below what your thoughts are. Is this a winner? Do you guys hate this? Do you guys love it? I kind of love it, to be completely honest. As always, YouTube jazz, like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff, and most importantly, cook something fantastic, and I will see you guys on the next cook. Bye-bye.